I've got a question for you. What makes a great rider? And by great, I really mean more precisely, what makes a competent rider? There are riders with technical excellence far beyond the average person on the road, but when it comes to being a great rider in the street, there are some qualities that can be life-saving when it comes to making snap decisions. This isn't necessarily someone who can do the best stunts, do the fastest U-turns, go the fastest, but this is the kind of person who is a genuine pleasure to be sharing the road with. And if you adopt these 4 traits, you'll be here for a good time and a long time. Firstly, a great rider is confident. And this is not to be confused with cockiness, which I'd say is a downside. There's a couple of things that contribute to confidence, and I think it is an earned state of mind. Competence, which means you put all the time into nailing down the basics and you're at least able to ride at an intermediate level. There are such things as beginner's confidence, but those are not quite earned. So we want an earned kind of confidence that comes from doing a fair number of reps and being able to operate that bike, navigate traffic, and be a decent damn person on the road. Secondly, familiarity. You become confident in riding the more familiar you are. Sometimes the competence that you had came from more of a book learning, and the familiarity will come from the street learning, from knowing what you need to do in different conditions. Maybe even just knowing your route is going to make you feel more confident. If you've understand the terrain before, if you've ridden in these conditions, you're familiar and therefore you're likely more confident of a rider. And lastly, preparation. So it's hard to be confident when you're being pelted by rain that you weren't expecting. And maybe you're good at ignoring that and you'll be just fine. But preparation, wearing the right gear, being comfortable and being safe is a great baseline for confidence on the road. Secondly, a great rider is of course attentive. You gotta be paying attention. People who are great riders are not chaotic. You are more proactive than reactive. And this comes from a little bit of mind reading and a little bit of observation, but not fixation. Talked about this in a video a long time ago that fixating is one of the worst things you can do while riding. It's really not ideal and avoid it at all costs. Fixating is, I don't know, a different word to say fixating. Paying too much attention to the wrong thing, basically. You want to always be moving your gaze, observing, processing information, taking it all in. You start to learn how drivers can be unpredictable, and you start to observe certain patterns in people who are about to do something. And then you do become that mind reader and that person who can be more proactive than reactive because you knew that was going to happen. You knew they were going to pull out right in front of you because you felt it in the air. Thirdly, a great rider is decisive. So you're taking in all of this information and you're making judgments based on it. You can make timely decisions, not to snap ahead of time judgments, but the best ones that you can given the information that you have. And that is developed by a trustworthy intuition. And a rider who's decisive trusts their own intuition, and you don't want to second guess yourself. And again, these all interrelate with each other and will often come with time. But if you never trust yourself, you can have all the time in the world and you will not become decisive. So work on being decisive and not changing your mind all the time if you can. Sometimes this will involve making somewhat of a defensive or aggressive maneuver because you are going to get yourself outside of a dangerous situation. It doesn't matter if you annoy a couple people, because if someone was going to run you over, you just need to do what you have to do. So that's a kind of decisiveness that can manifest in maybe disobeying traffic laws because it has to be done. This isn't someone who's just riding recklessly for the fun of it. All these choices are confident and intentional and not random or chaotic. Lastly, a great rider is humble. There's a lot of people out on a road, there's a lot of variables, and sometimes you don't need to be right to the outside world. You can just be right on the inside, and you can know that someone made a move that was not ideal, but you don't need to prove it to anyone. You don't need to prove it to them. You just need to stay safe on the road. Anything can happen out there on the road, and don't assume that you're immune to being in an accident. That's where some of that humility comes into play. You might be a really great rider. You might be the best rider you know. You can still get in an accident, so just be real about that. And branching off of that, I'd recommend that you dress for the slide more often than not. And that comes with a bit of humbleness. Never wanting to wear the gear. I don't want to say it's not humble, I guess, but it's making assumptions that either you're not gonna get in an accident or you're just willing to deal with the repercussions. So I guess like mad respect for option number 2. Option number 1 is slightly delusional or just like statistically unlikely, but who knows? Play the odds. I'm not your mom. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. And along this humbleness, there's a bit of stoicism that you ideally have on the road as a great rider, and you're not in competition with other people. You're not blowing through yellows all the time. You're not racing people, and you're not passing dangerously, or you're doing these things as little as possible. It's also humble to give dangerous drivers more room, plenty of space to be weird and mess around and pass people on the right or just do bizarre things. Don't try to keep up with them. Just let them be. Someone cuts you off, just back off. What's the worst that could happen? You'll live. So what qualities of a great rider do you think that I missed? I'm sure there are a lot, and I'd love to hear some more in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. My name's Meghan Stark. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more from me. And until next time, ride safe.